Chapter: People of the First Civilization.
I infer, I surmise, and the logic of life confirms this, that they possessed potentials greater than did God himself.
But who the heck are these mysterious they?
These are the children of God. People of the first earthly civilization.
The first civilization? Does that mean there were ones that came after? And how might the first civilization have differed from those that came after it?
In the direction of its development. Mankind, Vladimir, has not always followed the technocratic path into the dimension of anti-rationality, toward disaster. In the beginning was the first civilization, which developed in a different direction. We will call it the biological path. They made use of all that was originally created by God. A person of the civilization would study the divine creations, and, with their help, would perfect his dwelling land. The divine creations are perfected, but each generation must be more rational than the preceding one. Such is the way God programmed it. It could be no other way. Were it another way, God could not be called God, and his creations, lacking the potential for becoming perfected, would represent the end of creation. Man is the beginning of the great creation. And now it is taxing for us to even imagine what the first civilization achieved, what heights, in its divine development, and how the planet looked during the period of their material life. Naturally, people of the first earthly civilization might also have looked different than contemporary man on the outside too. They had an ideal body build, and their physical health enabled them to hold within themselves immeasurably more energy than contemporary man is able to hold. Their original knowledge of the biological divine world that came from God enabled them to perfect it. All the scientific and technological achievements existing today in the technocratic world existed for them in a significantly more perfected, biological form.
Where's the proof that this civilization and their achievements existed?
If you see a grown person, Vladimir, do you really need proof of the fact that this person was at first an infant and then a child?
No, I don't. The person himself serves as proof that he used to be a child.
In just that way, today's human civilization too serves as proof that there existed the first. And this first one could not be technocratic.
All right, maybe it couldn't. But we can see from historical evidence and archaeological digs that people of ancient civilizations who lived 100,000 years ago ran around in animal skins with clubs and hunted animals, as we're told, and that they had trouble finding food for themselves.
Archaeologists are finding people of the post-disaster period of technocratic civilizations. Imagine, Vladimir, that on the Earth is living a technocratic civilization, that it is achieving great heights in so-called technocratic development. But any technocratic path rends the planet Earth, impairs the ecology and disrupts the biosphere, and large-scale technology-induced disaster ensues. Those in power, or the elite, always know of its approach beforehand and make preparations to save themselves. One of the civilizations, for example, constructed in near-Earth orbit, an entire technological complex of a size equaling 2 ocean liners. On it, they saved themselves from the disastrous changes that had befallen the Earth. But this technological complex could not hold people indefinitely, for it itself was mortal. The people who were saving themselves from the earthly disaster held out on it for around 60 years. Children were born to them. But there came a time when life on the artificial complex became impossible. The people, its inhabitants, began dying, and then the decision was made to return to Earth, and they returned. They landed in groups, in special capsules. On the Earth, which was cooling now after the Great Fire, grass was already growing up anew, and the animal world was coming back to life. Not all the people managed to end up in this kind of oasis. Those who ended up in the desert or on red-hot lava perished. Those who managed to land on a plot of land where life had been partially preserved rejoiced at their luck. Now I will show you. Look, there they are. There are but 6 of them. Coming out of their red-hot capsule. They are rejoicing at the little green grass and the air they can breathe. Here are 2 children, a little boy and a little girl. They're examining a currant bush and the bugs on it with interest. And here is an elderly man without any hair at all. He's returning to the capsule, and before long he carries a box out of it. There is food inside it. The person sets the box on the ground, looks at the little boy and the little girl by the currant bush, and walks up to their mother, who's standing nearby.
It's best for you to go far away from this place and take the children with you. We have enough food left for no more than a week. Your husband has died, and I am your distant relative, but I have no intention of protecting you when the fight for food begins.
Give us at least a day's worth of food.
Take it yourself, but try to do it so no one will notice you, and leave quickly.
The woman walked up to the box on the ground, bent over as if adjusting her shoe, and quickly took 3 little tubes of some substance and hid them beneath her jumpsuit. Then she quickly walked up to her children and, saying something about wanting to show them some even more interesting bushes, led them off far away from the craft lying on the ground. The people who had returned to Earth possessed knowledge of the technocratic world. They could use computers and satellite telephones, operate an automobile or spaceship, but their knowledge was now absolutely useless and even hazardous. All communications and the majority of machines on Earth had been destroyed. Many of those that remained were radioactive and posed a mortal danger. The mother who left with her son and daughter carried on her family line. And once again, for millennia, mankind developed in the technocratic direction. Archaeologists excavated huge ancient cities. They excavated the graves of the forebears, finding in them crude hunting weapons, and concluded that they were seeing primitive people at the beginning of their civilization. But they were seeing people at the end of their civilization. Archaeologists would sometimes find cave drawings of people dressed in pressurized suits. The scientific world put forth hypotheses that mankind arose from extraterrestrial beings, that in antiquity, mankind had received knowledge from extraterrestrials. But just as before, they did not even want to entertain the thought that in the cave drawings of beings in pressurized suits, they were seeing people at the end of their civilization.
But then where is the first civilization now?
It has disappeared. It disappeared suddenly, for some mysterious reason. At the moment of their disappearance, the people of the first civilization erased all information about their achievements from the universal database. They did this in some inconceivable fashion. Why they took such steps, one can only infer and surmise.
Well, so what do you infer, Anastasia?
I infer that, perceiving themselves as in control of the fates of universal worlds, they also recognized within themselves the germs of the anti-world, anti-rationality virus, and understood that they lacked within themselves sufficient immunity to it. And at that point, they detonated themselves psychologically, along with their achievements, leaving on Earth those who were more infected with the virus of the anti-rationality and anti-world than the others, so that they could follow it to its conclusion and come to fully know the dimension of anti-rationality. And now we, the descendants of the first civilization, will come to know conclusively the essence of anti-rationality, and one instant before the planetary disaster, we will bring rationality and anti-rationality into balance within ourselves. All the achievements of the first earthly civilization will open up within us in a new and more perfected form.
But if, as you say, their knowledge will open up, does that mean they're somewhere, that they exist?
They exist within each person.
Anastasia suddenly broke off her tale and froze. What's happened, Anastasia? Why did you stop talking and freeze?
Something has happened in the universal space. I sense that, Vladimir. I sense the vibrations. Do you also?
I don't sense a thing. Just some little breeze started to blow.
Yes, a breeze, but it's variable.
Well, maybe it's variable, but what of it? Did something bad happen or something good?
I don't know, Vladimir. Only one thing is clear. What has happened has disturbed the space.
But where did it happen?
On the shore of our lake, I think.
And what are you saying the whole universe reacted to this thing that happened?
It always reacts when interesting or unusual information appears.
Let's run over to our lake as fast as we can, Anastasia. We set off walking at a fast clip. At times when the tiger would allow me to, I tried to run. Only once did we sit down to rest, and then once again rushed toward the lake. When we were already almost to the lake, I suddenly imagined what unpleasant things might be in store for our son, and I asked Anastasia to stop. Wait, Anastasia. Hear me out. Try to understand. Volodya's under the impression that you challenged us to a duel. Is that right?
Yes.
I won't go into it right now, about why it's an unfair challenge. There's no time. But I'm asking you, please don't criticize what Volodya has done during the 2 days we've been gone. It's clear that he's been working on the mock-up from dawn to dusk. He's been trying. I know. I saw it when he and I were thinking over the design on our own, but he doesn't have enough information. If you start criticizing his creation, he'll be very upset. He said to me, if I don't win the duel, it will make Mama sad. Can you imagine? He'll try and try, so he doesn't make you sad.
And you too, Vladimir.
Yes, and me too. But you and I, we're grown-ups. We should understand that there's simply nothing else he can add to the homestead design. The earthen wall around the perimeter was a brilliant idea, but it's already been articulated, and the pond's been settled, and you haven't rejected where we've put the home with the veranda all around it. What's left? Flower beds, raised vegetable beds. That's small stuff. The technical construction details aren't significant. You need to understand, Anastasia, there's no room left there for creativity. I mean, you yourself have already done everything. You gave us a hint and didn't leave anything for our son. At least praise him for trying.
I cannot praise him just for trying. That would be humiliating praise.
Humiliating? But putting a child in a position where there's no way out, that's not humiliation. No, that's not humiliation. It's mockery.
Please believe me, Vladimir. I'm not mocking our son. Not at all. Within him are little parts of you and of me. Information and knowledge gathered by your ancestors and mine. He has been raised and taught by grandfather and great-grandfather. Our son's capabilities are yet to be revealed, but I am certain that they are great.
Maybe they are great, but I'm trying to explain to you that there's no area left for creativity, for him to display them. The homestead design has already been created.
You feel it's been created. But for a long time now, I've been under the impression that even so, neither you nor I, nor the people who are creating homesteads, are aware of some key purpose of theirs. Many sense it intuitively, and for this reason, the thought to create the family homestead draws people in. This thought is on the level of feelings. They are not fully clear or grasped. Something very important for the future and for eternity has not been grasped. From the moment of man's creation and up to the present, within him has lain all that was created in the beginning, and they, the man-gods of the first civilization, are secreted away within each person, in the form of a small and perhaps microscopic particle. It's possible that they can see or feel what is transpiring. When I excessively precipitously put our son in a difficult position in regard to you, it is possible that this particle responded, that it couldn't help it, and perhaps this time has come. It is possible that Volodya senses, feels the knowledge stored within him. His structure, this fiery bird, turned out too extraordinary in its beauty and function.
Anastasia, please understand, you're asking the impossible. You want our son to explain something to you or to create something, but you yourself don't know what exactly. You only feel some new potentials for the family homestead, but Volodya might not even know about your feelings.
My feelings lie within our son too, Vladimir.
I was walking behind Anastasia, fully aware that she wasn't going to pull any punches with our son or praise him for no good reason. And she might even start criticizing him too. But I wasn't going to criticize him. I made a firm decision. I had to find some kind of words to say to cheer him up and praise him for trying. I fell a bit behind Anastasia. When I came out of the tiger, I saw that she, standing by a cedar tree, was focused on peering from afar at what was transpiring on the shore. And on the sandy shore of the Tiger Lake, surrounded by centuries-old cedars, Volodya was making some kind of incomprehensible structure. It was a simple square or rectangle that framed the earth and mound and enclosed it on both sides with little clay walls. The little walls at the corners were white and higher than along the sides. On the square's inner edge was the pond, and next to it his unique bird, and in the middle of the square, right on the sand, sat Nastenka. That was it. I understood that Anastasia wouldn't be praising Volodya. There was nothing to praise him for. He'd made the bird before, and he basically wasn't the one who'd come up with the earthen mound. Either he hadn't had time to construct the home and farmyard structures, or he didn't know where to situate them. To tell the truth, the square was a little bit strange. I turned to Anastasia and said, "Volodya hasn't managed to do anything special, and since that's the case, there's nothing here to criticize." But Anastasia gave me no answer and didn't even turn in my direction. It was as if she had lost track of everything and was focused on studying the square. I set off in the direction of the square my son was fussing with, but here's where something incomprehensible happened. When I came to within a few steps of the homestead mock-up, I stopped. I didn't have the strength to move further. It was as if the space around me was suddenly transformed. On the outside, everything was still the same, but my sensations, unbelievably pleasant sensations that seemed familiar, or as if they'd come from another lifetime, were enveloping the whole surrounding space and warming my body from within. I was afraid to move. I didn't want them to go away. I just stood there and looked at a corner of the square, at a corner that was shaped like a little white home with a window and a door. I'd begun to come to when I heard the voice of Anastasia, who'd walked up. She addressed Volodya, who, kneeling, was smoothing out the uneven parts of the outer wall with his hands.
"May I ask you something, my dear son?"
Anastasia seemed agitated to me. Volodya stood up, went up to Anastasia, gave her a slight bow and replied,
"I'm happy to listen to you, Mama.
Have you found a new definition for the concept of a home?
I've been trying to seek one out, Mama, and I decided that a person should simultaneously build a home for both himself and his hectare. Then they will be inseparably connected to each other and united in their space."
Tell me about your mock-up, Volodya, and about how it is meant to function. Tell me about all its details.
"All right, Mama, I'll tell you."
and our son began to tell her. It was as if, through his telling, the conventional labels of the extraordinary family homestead came to life in the mock-up. Volodya pointed to a depression in the wall.
"This here is the entrance to the home, Mama. It's located not on the roadside, but the forest side."
You mean to say that this is the entrance to the territory of the family homestead?
The entire family homestead is the home, and for that reason I called it the entrance to the home. And the person should wipe his feet before he walks in if something has stuck to them, and even if nothing has, he needs to do this mentally. Now this wall,
Volodya said, pointing to the greenhouse running along the hectare's perimeter,
is the living wall of the home. The plants growing inside it will be warm and happy. This is a clay wall heated by the rays of the sun that pass through glass, or the transparent plastic sheeting Papa has spoken of, from above. During the day, the clay wall will heat up, and during the night when it's cool, it will begin giving off warmth to everything growing inside. There are rooms inside this wall. It's a place where various garden supplies and tools the person will use will be stored. And in this space, Mama,
Volodya said, pointing to an oval extending out from the homestead's perimeter,
a person can sleep and eat in the winter. Next, there's a compartment where the firewood is kept. The various domestic animals, chickens, swans, a goat, a pony, a hedgehog, peacocks and doves, are housed amongst the corners of the living wall that abuts the forest. There are 2 exits from their dwelling, one in the direction of the forest, the other into the home space. Papa has said that he often has to go away, and there won't be anyone to look after the animals. Papa feels a person shouldn't take on animals if he can't give them enough attention and feed them at the right time. but I feel that animals shouldn't have to depend on the person for food. That demeans the animals. The person should create a comfortable dwelling land for the animals he likes, so that they can feed themselves independently and come to the person when he needs them. Many various wild animals live around our glade, our home, but there's no need for us to feed them. On the contrary, they are happy to bring us food. I infer that we can create the very same conditions for animals on the family homestead too, especially if it abuts a forest.
It's possible. Volodya, on the roadside at the corners, there are 2 little homes with small windows. What are they for?
Mama, I designed this for Papa. I know that Papa's best childhood memories are connected to the time he spent living as a little boy with his grandmother and grandfather in a little white washed clay hut with a straw roof. I built the little walls of this little village hut. I think it will be really good if Papa's homestead has other elements too that will call up pleasant memories from his life.
I quickly turned to the white. I began studying it, and I recognized it. My childhood home. I recognized the little whitewashed Ukrainian hut with a straw roof, with a little window and a door and a little old bench beside it. I wanted to rush to my son and hug him, and then the pleasant sensations enveloped me anew and wouldn't let me move from my spot. All I could do was to say, "Thank you, my dear son. It all really does look like it, the little window and the little bench and the door."
The door to your little childhood house opens, Papa. If you open it, you'll immediately be inside the covered perimeter of your homestead, and you can pass through it to wherever you want to go. And Papa, I've also arranged various plants on the homestead space and have composed the necessary symbols out of them. In the greenhouse, Papa, you can grow everything you like to eat in the spring and summer, but in addition to your favorite vegetables and fruits, it would be very good if you set up raised beds no more than 11 meters apart, and with a diameter of no less than 90 centimeters. On these beds, you'll put in seedlings of, for example, currant and raspberry, and it would be good to put in at least 1 little cedar seedling on each side, along with grasses and flowers you've brought there from the taiga. And it's desirable for them to come not from the edge of the taiga, but from deep inside it.
It will be extremely difficult for people to do that, Volodya. Now I can do that. But I'd like a lot of other people who are building family homesteads to have this option too. A lot of them won't be able to put in plants from deep inside the taiga. There are no roads in the taiga, and you can't use public transportation, and you can't carry much out on your own, and then you still have to spend a long time hauling it back on public transportation. All of this will require no small financial expenditure. And when you add it all up, the plants you deliver from Siberia will cost significantly more than ones that are grown in nurseries and sold right on site or not far away. You know, there's even a saying, "For a cow abroad you'll pay a penny, plus 100 for her delivery." And besides that, can you explain why you should get plants from deep in the taiga when you can dig them up in your local forest or get them from your nursery nearby?
But those will be different plants, Papa. After all, you yourself have told me about how, for example, the milk agaric mushrooms that grow here and that you can eat raw differ significantly from the milk agaric mushrooms that grow in the region of Russia you call the Central Region. The cowberries, too, differ. And Papa, the currants and raspberries differ too. You yourself have written in your books, Papa, that scientists have spoken of this too, such as Academician Pallas.
Tell me, Volodya, is the way they taste the only reason we need to fill these raised beds with plants from deep in the taiga?
That's not the only reason, Papa. Taiga plants will not admit the anti-rational information of that world in which you have to live. When they're set out along the perimeter, they will not let that information through onto the territory of the homestead. Local plants, which you call regionalized, have gotten used to it to a greater degree and will let it through. In particular, plants that do not produce seeds provide no barrier whatsoever to this information.
I know about that kind of plant. They're called genetically modified.
Papa, it's important for the perimeter of the homestead to be able to not let unnecessary, hostile information you don't need through when it transports you to another spot.
I didn't understand what my son had said and began asking him to clarify. To what other spot? How can it transport me? Volodya didn't have a chance to reply. Anastasia, who was having a hard time concealing her agitation, began to speak.
You've come up with something very good, my dear son. It's very important to concentrate positive emotions on the homestead. And by wiping your feet when you enter, to not bring the negative onto it.
End of chapter. Join us for the next segment of Anasta, Book 10 of the Ringing Cedars series, The Burning Blood of the Ancestors.